The rainy season is here, and with it, the flu season. Many of us are so familiar with the flu. It's actually a common infection all over the world that can resolve on its own for the most part. But it can also be life-threatening. On today's program, how to best prepare for the flu season, how to differentiate it from COVID-19, and the power of the flu shot. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez. Welcome to MEDTALK Health Talk on CNN Philippines. The flu, or influenza, is a respiratory illness that infects the nose, throat, and the lungs. It's highly contagious. This viral infection easily spreads from person to person through droplets. Does that sound familiar? That's because the flu and COVID-19 are both viral infections and both affect the respiratory system. Our guests are here today to differentiate the two and help keep you safe from the flu. Let's welcome Dr. Daisy Ilagan-Tagarda. She's an infectious disease specialist from the University of Santo Tomas Hospital. Also with us is Dr. Ana Limpoco, a family medicine specialist from the University of Philippines, Manila Department of Family and Community Medicine. Thank you both for joining us here on the program. Now, before there was COVID-19, there was the flu. It infects the nose, throat, and the lungs caused by the influenza virus. I'll start first with Dr. Ana. Let's review first. How does the flu spread?
Actually, it's really person-to-person transmission ito. So when a person having a flu, coughs, or sneezes, pwedeng ma-inhale yon ng person na malapit sa kanya. So practically, that's how flu spreads talaga. So person-to-person transmission yan.
Right, and the flu, as we said, is a viral infection, much like COVID-19. It also spreads through respiratory droplets, and you can catch the virus if a person infected with the flu sneezes, coughs, or even speaks directly at you. Also, if you touch a contaminated surface and then touch your nose or mouth, it really does sound much like COVID-19 and how it spreads. Dr. Daisy, when are people with the flu most contagious?
Well, depends on the day of illness, no? So the incubation period of the flu is around 1 to 5 days. And they are considered to be most infectious on the 4th to 5th or 2 days before having symptoms. And then while they're having symptoms, especially the first few days of illness, wherein the virus is actually replicating actively, then this is the first few days, or the patient is considered to be very infectious.
All this sounds familiar to what we've learned about the past year about COVID-19. In fact, both the flu and COVID-19 share very similar signs and symptoms. But there are some key differences between the two. For one, they're caused by different viruses. Dr. Daisy, how is it important that we know that the flu and COVID-19 are caused by different viruses? What's important for our viewers to know?
Very important is to have to know the etiology or the cause of the disease, to know the exact management for these two types of infections, because the antiviral, the management, the isolation, quite different from each other. So very important to diagnose accurately between if it's a flu or if it's a COVID.
Yes, and because the flu and COVID-19 are both viral respiratory illnesses, they have similar symptoms that can range from asymptomatic to severe symptoms. Dr. Ana, what are some of these symptoms that the flu and COVID-19 share?
Okay, so these two illnesses may present both as people or persons having fever or respiratory tract symptoms, cough, cold, sneezing. So more or less, they are similar in that aspect. Although when we talk about flu, some may present with myalgia or the muscle pain or the joint pains. But some patients with COVID would also present with those symptoms as well. So very similar sila, very similar. But I think the most important thing is to really being able to differentiate kung COVID-19 ba to or flu ba yung cause nitong symptoms na ito.
Yes, and that way, in order to find that out, is how do they differ? Yan ang importante doon. Dr. Ana, are there symptoms that sets them apart naman? I think that's very important to know also. How can someone tell na COVID-19 ito as opposed to yung common flu?
Okay, so kanina we've discussed the common symptoms. So based on the patients that we see, no, if it's COVID talaga, minsan walang symptom asymptomatic, but there's history of exposure and even the history of this person's having comorbidity. So dun tayo talaga nag-aalala because the flu can just resolve on its own, but the COVID, no, it may progress into complications. Patients may present with severe pneumonia, difficulty of breathing, or sometimes changes sa oxygen level nila. So these things we have to tell the patient what to watch out for then. So pag COVID, mas severe yung presentation, although it may start as the same with the flu symptoms natin, but may difficulty of breathing pag nagiging severe na siya. And also, the patient may feel na there's poor appetite, wala siyang gana, or mahinang-mahina talaga siya.
And many of those infected with COVID-19 actually report a loss of taste or smell, a symptom not usually found in the flu virus. And another key difference is that COVID-19 spreads more easily than the flu and can cause more serious illness in patients, as was described earlier. If you think you have COVID-19, please don't hesitate to call your doctor and discuss your condition. Now, is getting a flu shot the answer to preventing a flu? We'll discuss this after a short break. Stay with us here on MedTalk Health Talk, your partner in healthcare. This is CNN Philippines. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez and welcome back to MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. The flu or influenza affects millions of people each year. With the flu vaccine, these lives can be protected. From 2019 to 2020 alone, flu vaccination prevented around 7.5 million flu-related illnesses around the world. But today, many Filipinos have missed their annual shot, either from vaccine hesitancy or from fear of catching COVID. Dr. Ana, let's first discuss, why do people need to get vaccinated for the flu every year?
Every year kasi, there's what we call yung strain ng flu virus na the researchers would feel na ito yung dominant strains that will appear for this year. So we need to tell our patients to get their flu shots annually, because these strains differ year from year. And so when we give the flu vaccine, we give prevention, protection for our patients not to get flu. Although we tell our patients na hindi naman siya talaga, pag binigyan ka ng flu vaccine, hindi ka na magkaka-flu. You may still have, but this having the flu vaccine may reduce the complications or even the progression to a more severe type. So yun yung importance of telling our patients having flu is really preventing you for these complications of illnesses.
It is also beneficial for the really young and the really old. Bakit kaya, Dr. Daisy, na important ito para dun sa age group na yun?
Okay, so for the youngest age group, they are considered to be vulnerable because they don't have yet the immunity to fight against this type of infection. On the other hand, extreme of ages, the ones that belongs to more than 60 years old, are at risk to develop severe disease. This is because they have the immunosenescence. What do you mean by that? The immune system of a younger individual, less than 60 years old, is much more responsive, much more adaptive as compared to the patients that belong to more than 60 years old, because the immune system is somewhat not that very efficient in responding infection. But as those who belong to young population are also encouraged to receive the flu vaccine, especially during pandemic.
While we understand that many are scared to step out of their homes out of fear of catching COVID, getting a flu shot this pandemic will actually reduce the burden of flu illnesses, hospitalizations, and deaths on our healthcare system. Dr. Daisy, who should get the flu vaccine?
Well, I have to emphasize, highly encouraged to receive are those that belong to extremes of age, the younger ones and the older ones that belongs to more than 6 years old. Aside from that, highly encouraged to receive are also those patients or individuals with comorbidities such as asthma, COPD, neurologic comorbidities that suffered stroke before, hypertension, uncontrolled diabetes. So these are the group of people that can highly benefit from getting flu vaccine. But of course, I still encourage everybody to get their flu shot for this year because it will also protect you from getting the flu and passing it on to your loved ones.
That's right. So marami talagang magbe-benefit with the flu vaccine. But Dr. Anna, there are some people who shouldn't receive the flu vaccine. Who are these people in this case?
Okay, for those who should not be given vaccine are those who have allergies to vaccines. That's number one. And second, those who are less than 6 months of age. Kasi ito yung mga bata, no? Ito yung mga infants natin. And I think ang importante dito is, again, I have to emphasize those who have allergies to the to vaccines, no, for any vaccines for that matter. So you have to tell your doctor kung kung nagkaroon kayo ng severe reaction when you were given any vaccines. And again, yung less than 6 months of age.
Okay, so similar warnings then whenever someone takes the COVID-19 vaccine is to watch out for allergies. And like any vaccine, there are some side effects. Dr. Anna, what can people expect after getting the flu vaccine? Could you give us an idea or walk us through some of this?
Okay, so a person who gets vaccinated for flu or for any vaccines may experience mild reactions such as pain in the injection site, no? So that's very common. Or some will experience some form of myalgia or muscle pain. But these side effects are temporary, so they will resolve then after a few hours or even a few days. So the side effects or the symptoms being experienced by persons getting vaccinated are mild. So I think we should not be worried about it. But again, you have to tell your doctor if in case it gets severe.
Okay, so if you feel any of these symptoms after your vaccine, most important is not to panic. Although extremely rare, there are some that have severe allergic reactions to the flu vaccine. Dr. Daisy, what are some signs and symptoms that our viewers should know about or that could cause concern after getting a flu vaccine?
Well, about symptoms, you don't have to be worried about it. But for the severe symptoms like difficulty of breathing, no severe rashes causing edema or swelling of the face, these are anaphylactic reactions secondary to the vaccine. So you have to go immediately to the emergency room. So, but this again, we have to emphasize this is very rare. So if you have a severe allergic reaction to egg, no, then also from the previous vaccinations, because severe, if it's causing anaphylactic reaction, then you can tell your doctor so that your doctor will decide if it's safe for you to receive the flu vaccine or not.
Now, I'd like to move the conversation now to the interval because napaka-similar ng vaccination process with the flu and that of COVID-19. And with the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccine in the country, your flu vaccine needs to be taken at a certain interval. Hindi sila pwedeng magsabay. Although there's no evidence that the vaccinations interact with each other, it's best to take precautionary measures. Dr. Daisy, how soon after a person gets their COVID-19 vaccine can they also now get their flu shot or vice versa?
Okay, we don't have a study yet on the interaction, whether there is an interaction between COVID vaccine and flu vaccine. But the DOH and the CDC recommends interval of at least 14 days. One reason for that is because, again, there's no study yet to prove that it's safe that they can be given on the same day. Number two is because we want to monitor for the side effects of each vaccine. So if you give it in a very, very short duration or short interval, you might get confused on whether the adverse reaction is secondary to flu vaccine or to the COVID vaccine.
Okay, so just to reiterate, a 14-day gap also helps determine the side effects that come from each vaccine. So ayaw nating malito if it's from the COVID-19 vaccine or from the flu vaccine. And aside from the flu shot, there are natural ways of preventing a flu. We'll go through them after a short break. We want to be your partner for a lifetime of good health. You're watching CNN Philippines. This is MedTalk Health Talk, where your health comes first. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez. Don't let the flu catch you by surprise. There are several ways you can naturally boost your immune system to keep you safe and healthy this season. We'll discuss this right now. Dr. Daisy, what are some of the ways to naturally strengthen our immune system?
Okay, getting enough sleep is very important. Nutritional food to be taken is very important as well. But for those who belong to special population, like those with diabetes, uncontrolled hypertension, you have to control your comorbidity. No, control your diabetes. Follow up with your attending physician so that it's sure that you have a controlled comorbidity. Because uncontrolled diabetes or uncontrolled disease makes the patient more prone to get the infection, at the same time having a high risk to have a severe type of infection.
Now, Dr. Ana, let's remind our viewers also what consists of a healthy diet naman.
Yes, when we talk about a healthy diet, dapat meron yang go, glow, and grow. So we always advise our patients to adhere with the Pinggang Pinoy. So when we say Pinggang Pinoy, each of your meal should consist of half serving of vegetables, high in fiber, 1/4 serving coming from protein sources, and 1/4 coming from your carbohydrate sources. Of course, that will include your adequate water intake and your fruits as well. So very important yan, healthy diet talaga.
Yes, that is true. And here on the show, we always emphasize that eating healthy, exercising regularly, and getting enough sleep can lead to a healthier you. There are also habits that you can practice every day to keep you safe from infection, not just from the flu, but from COVID-19 as well. Dr. Ana, what are some of the best practices to prevent the flu?
Okay, number 1, hand washing is very important. Cough etiquette also. So yung mga safety protocols that we are pushing or recommending the people around us, no? Yung distance natin, importante yan. And then yung wearing of mask is also another thing. So it really, this measures doesn't only cover for COVID-19 spread, but also the spread of flu as well. So aside from healthy diet, safety protocols, these measures, hand washing, very important. I have to emphasize that. These things, kailangan na to sa atin very natural na ito sa atin, itong mga practices na ito.
That's right. And aside from that, we also want to make everyone aware that during this time, in order to prevent flu as well as COVID-19, is to avoid large crowds. Dr. Daisy, what is considered a large crowd? And should we still avoid them if we're in an outdoor space?
Well, I'm very, very strict about, interacting with people. So for me, in my own practice, I stick with my own bubble. Like here inside my family, the only ones that I get to eat together are the ones inside the house. So I don't get a chance to eat with other people not inside our house. But by the IATF protocol, they don't want to have celebrations depending on the quarantine, no? So this is very, very important. But as much as possible, you have to stick with your own bubble.
Always practice social distancing. And when washing your hands naman, always make sure you wash your hands properly with the right amount of time. Singing the happy birthday song twice is a good reminder on how long you should wash your hands. Now, all these practices will significantly reduce your risks of catching the flu and will keep you safe and healthy from other communicable diseases. Now, before we go, I'd like to know from Dr. Ana if she has any reminders for our viewers with regards to staying healthy this rainy season.
Yeah, so again, we have to emphasize a healthy lifestyle. So that's proper sleep, eating well, exercising, practicing hand washing and the protocols as recommended. And also, very, very important, kung nasa-stress kayo, you do some de-stressing activities also.
Very good. And for Dr. Daisy naman, what can you tell our viewers with regards to the importance talaga of getting the flu vaccine?
Okay, if you want to prevent the disease for yourself and for the other people, especially for your loved one, you have to get the shot. Protect yourself and protect other people.
Very good. And with that, I'd like to thank infectious disease specialist Dr. Daisy Ilagan Tagarda and family medicine specialist Dr. Ana Gia Limpoco. We appreciate your insights and expertise very much. So choose well and choose to be healthy. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and we'll see you again next time. Stay safe, everyone.